Welcome one, welcome all to DeFi Crypto and Airdrops Money Talks Thursday edition. With me, as always, is Jeff Reddick and Taylor Willingham from the Willingham Law Firm in McKinney, Texas. And they are my subject matter experts on TradFi and legal matters. And they are both obviously investors in both crypto and traditional vehicles. And today we're going to be talking about, as the basis of conversation, just kind of the current state of the U.S. economy, and some of the things that Trump has done, good and bad, in our opinion, and then some of the recent news that's going on. So, how are you gentlemen doing? And we'll jump right into it.
Good.
I'm doing great.
All
But we
right.
have to have Jeff tell his police story at some time.
All right. Before the end of the show, we can have him tell us police story. I want to jump into the markets real quick. So we've had, first of all, if you're not watching on our YouTube channel, DeFi Crypto and Airdrops, and you want to join the chat, the conversation, I highly encourage that you go over there, follow us, and jump into the chat and ask whatever questions that you have. Again, Jeff is actually a licensed financial advisor, and Taylor is a practicing lawyer that specializes in estate planning. So, mitigating taxes, using tax shelters, wills and trusts, all those sorts of things. So, if you're looking to, get an expert opinion on these topics, these are the gentlemen to ask. So, with that, let's share this. So news came out. It looks like the U.S. government is going to be using Chainlink as to store their data. So the U.S. Department of Commerce, in collaboration with Chainlink, has introduced where they're going to store the macroeconomic data on chain. Those that don't know, Chainlink is an oracle that offers interoperability to different chains. So basically, allows different blockchains to communicate with each other. So that's
What data are they going to put on there?
it says that they're going to be putting on there's just macroeconomic data. So, let's see.
Who would know that the David Sachs, who runs the crypto, who is he within the crypto thing for the government? But he owns tons of Chainlink.
Is he like the crypto czar or something like that? I don't
Yeah,
know.
the crypto czar. That's what they call him.
Yeah, and
Good
so
job, and good job. Way to get yourself
right.
a
Yeah, I
nice
mean that's
day.
business as usual in the government.
Yeah.
So, it says bringing key U.S. government data on chain unlocks innovative use cases for blockchain markets, including automated trading strategies, increased compostability of tokenized assets, issuance of new types of digital assets, real-time prediction markets for crowdsourced intelligence, transparent dashboards powered by immutable data, and DeFi protocol risk management based on macroeconomic factors.
Okay.
It looks like these data sets are updated monthly or quarterly as applicable, are initially being made available across 10 blockchain ecosystems, starting with Arbitrum, Avalanche, Base, Botanix, Ethereum, Linea, Mantle, Optimism, Sonic, and ZK Sync. So Base is the one that I have been laser focused on. I mean, that's the one that Coinbase is using for the most part. Aerodrome Finance, Morpho, Moonwell, Mamo, KTA, all are on Base. All favorites of mine. And yeah, they basically Coinbase is adding pretty much anything that's on Base to their new Base app that they're launching and onto the Coinbase platform. So basically opening up DeFi to the masses. You don't have to be a crypto or DeFi expert, once they launch this to be able to invest in these, tokenized real world assets, stocks, bonds, commodities, crypto, be able to earn on your liquidity, things like that. So
Well, I have to give David Sachs because apparently he did divest all of his interest in Chainlink
Oh, okay.
before he became the crypto czar. So it looks like uh, he said he got rid of all AI and crypto related ownings that he had before when he took the position as the White House special advisor for AI and crypto.
But I wondered if he actually sold it, or did he just like transfer it into like his wife's name, or you know what I mean?
Well, there's no
You know,
regulation on it, and very well could be like he moved it somewhere, but at least he didn't have to. So,
no.
but so props to him that he is trying to attempt to avoid his. I love how we always get side faces, which like half the
I have
face.
no idea what's happening. My stupid.
He's given
Move
the profile.
the camera over, Jeff. Come on, this is not.
It's not coming from my good camera. Just turned off, and I don't know. I'm
that
working
one.
on it. You just keep talking.
We need to give Jeff a tech assistant or something.
Yeah. We'll hire a 5-year-old to go in there and
right, and teach him about crypto too and DeFi.
Yeah. This is where you put
All
your
right.
money.
So, a couple of quick things before we jump into this. Packaswap on Constellation Network. This is one that I've been waiting on personally for quite some time. Still very low liquidity on the platform, but if you were farming Paka, in the Constellation or the Stargazer wallet, and then they've launched the tokens. They've actually sent airdrop the tokens to the people that were farming. So that's freaking awesome.
Oh, that's nice.
On Wednesdays and Fridays, I now have David, and on Wednesdays we also have Jake Call, both DeFi experts, but they will be on a regular basis. And we've been focusing right now, just because of where we're at in the cycle, on DeFi opportunities using stable coins. Because as we start taking profits, we need to lock in those profits in stables. I mean, you can put it in Bitcoin, you can do other things, but ultimately you want to risk off and move out of volatile assets into stables. And so we've been focusing on earning using stables, and there is some really juicy APRs right now in the stablecoin markets. For example, on Dolomite, on USDC, you can earn 25% APR.
That's called Dolomite?
Dolomite, Dolomite. And that, for the most part, is just a straightforward APR. However, there are opportunities such as on Jupiter just launched this platform, basically Jupiter Lend, where you can take Syrup USDC in this case and borrow USDC. So you're lending Syrup USDC, which is a stable coin from Maple Finance, and USDC, and you can do what's called looping. And so basically for supplying, you earn 7%. Your borrow rate is just shy of 2%. But what you can do is you come into here and you can basically lever up. So, each time you loop, you're basically lending to earn that yield. You borrow what you borrow, you go back and you re-lend, and you just keep doing that. And it's basically levering up. So let's see. So basically what you can do is you can see that you can move the slider up, and you can, all the way up to almost an 8x. I mean, I would not suggest that. And there are, a lot of risks. I would suggest, I don't want to go into it now, but I would suggest going and watching those episodes where we detail the risks and how to mitigate your risks doing this. But, I mean, potentially, you can earn a much higher APRs. You can see as I'm sliding this up to 42% on stables. Obviously you don't want to, take that much risk and potentially get liquidated, but you can earn 24, 25% looping. But again, on Dolomite, I mean, you can earn 25% right now just for supplying USDC. So anyway, just wanted to touch on that real quick. It's a great opportunity if you have some dormant liquidity that you want to earn on. But let's go ahead and jump on into this. So let's start out with tariffs. Let's dive into whoever wants to jump in. Let's start talking about kind of how tariffs have affected the macro markets and crypto and traditional finance.
All right. Well,
Jeff.
last couple of weeks, I'm actually pulling something up right now. Let's see if I can find this. Last couple of weeks, Goldman Sachs came out with a big report saying no, like 78% of the tariffs are paid by end consumers. Walmart CEO came out and said, hey, our warehouses are empty of pre-tariff supply, which means going forward, everything we replenish in our warehouse with that then goes to sell, or prices are going to go up. So what's weird about the tariffs is, again, Goldman Sachs came out July 3rd. U.S. earnings will start to show impact of tariffs. That's probably the third quarter. They doubled down on August 13th. Goldman Sachs doubles down. Says the consumers are going to bear the brunt. Trump tells Goldman Sachs to hire a new economist. Walmart CEO, right? I mean, the guy probably has more of a pulse than anybody else on just the average Joe's cost of goods, right? So I think it's still relatively hidden to most people, the primary effects, for a couple of reasons. We all know about the taco nickname of Trump right now, right?
I've seen that. What is that?
So about a month and a half ago, it had to do with, like, for example, he keeps putting deadlines on China, and then when the deadlines hit, maybe right before, or maybe like 12 hours afterwards, he announces a postponement for like another 90 days. So he keeps kicking the can down the road on the really painful ones. Although this week, I don't know when they kick in, but he just put a 50% tariff on India.
Damn.
So, which is a big deal when it comes to things like textiles, right? Like clothing.
Yeah. And telemarketers, right?
Well, they make it too expensive, right?
And the phone calls that I keep getting about my tax issue.
So Walmart CEO said tariff costs are rising literally per week for them, right? As different things are going through. So what I think has happened for the most part that I can see is, and actually Taylor and I know a local, there's a local coffee shop here, and the owner's he came out straight up, said, hey, I'm American first. I voted for Trump, but we don't make coffee in the United States, except for in Hawaii. And those are pretty expensive beans. But the vast majority of coffee, right, it's Colombia, it's Costa Rica, right? It's imported from Central and South America, and especially at the volume of coffee we drink as Americans. And he told us, I remember back in April, we were into April, beginning of May, when we were doing an event for Taylor's mayoral campaign. We were there and talking to him. And he said that every single cup of coffee he is selling now, he sells at a loss. That he can't do forever, but he couldn't raise rates or raise prices because Starbucks and Pete's and a few other national chains hasn't raised prices. So as the little guys, like, if I raise prices, I'll lose market share. So I've just got to eat it and hope that it either goes away or that everybody starts raising prices and it becomes a new normal and I can stay within my, I can stay relatively a good value compared to my competitors. And what I thought was interesting about that, I mean, literally, he said that in 1 week, his coffee cost went up 45%. His tea cost, because he gets that matcha tea from Japan, went up 60%.
Just use all the coffee grounds twice. Problem solved.
Right, get that watered down coffee. So what I think was happening is I think a whole lot of companies, so the taco thing stands for Trump always chickens out.
Oh, is that what it said? I was wondering what it was. I'm like, what?
They call it the taco trade. But anyway.
Oh, okay.
I think what's going to happen is there's been enough water under the bridge for the tariffs for at least a certain amount of tariffs, that they're here to stay to some degree. It's just another tax. It's basically a sales tax at the end of the day. We do pay it. Now, there's an argument to be made that if you're going to have a tariff of 20%, let's say, on country XYZ, that country will lower their cost, will subsidize that and make their stuff. So instead of selling us something at 10 cents, at $10, they'll sell it to us at $8. So when we add our 20%, it still is the same price it was before. So they don't lose market share. So there is that argument. That can happen. But at the end of the day, the actual tariff dollars are paid by the import companies that turn around and charge it to the wholesalers, that turn around and charge it to the retailers, that turn around and charge it to us. Unless, of course, anybody along that chain wants to eat it. And so far, a lot of the companies have eaten it because they were trying not to lose market share. They were trying not to piss off their competitors. But once a Walmart is like, look, guys, we got to start passing this along, I'm not sure that everybody else is not going to be too far behind. So the tariffs are absolutely inflationary as far as a cost perspective. That's different than pure inflation where there's too many dollars facing too few goods. But it can make, in the same way that like if tomorrow, right, Trump wouldn't do this, I don't think, but let's say Trump says, oh, there's a new dollar per gallon tax to fight climate change, right? That's not going to happen. But if it did, we would all agree, okay, that's going to make oil and gas gasoline more expensive by $1 a gallon. Like that, it just is. And so as far as we're concerned, we don't care what the source is. We don't care if it's a tax or a tariff or general inflation or regulation or whatever the hell it is. It just makes shit more expensive. So that's still
any addition to the cost of manufacturing, transport, any of it is going to be passed on to the consumer. It's not like companies are gonna, they have a financial obligation to their investors to maximize profit, so they're not going to suck up those losses for sure.
No, I do think there is an argument. I don't know if he believes this or not. There's a part of me, if I wanted to give Trump really good credit for something, it would be, I'm going to just tell people they're not paying for it so much for so long that they'll eventually just be like, whatever, dude, and just accept it. Because the government's gotten like $140 billion worth of revenue. They want that money, right? So if you can convince the average person that money's coming in from other countries when it's not, that's
Taylor, what's your thought on Trump made an announcement the other while back, and he's done it a couple of times, talking about how he was basically going to put stimulus checks out, using the tariff money that they're generating. What are your guys' Taylor first? What's your thought on that? I know they did that during COVID, and I thought it was a terrible idea. It was basically tax dollars that. Anyway, go ahead. I want to hear your opinion.
So one of the big problems that we had with inflation is when they sent out free money. One of the issues that you do when you do that is it's supply and demand arguments. So it's like, if people get more money, free money, and then they go out and spend it on stuff, and there's less stuff. And so prices are going to go up on things. And so it is usually not a good idea to take money and just give it to people outright that haven't earned it. You want to, incentivize work that's going to produce something, and then those people get more money. You don't want to just, randomly just hand out free money to people, because, if people go out and spend it like they did, and you saw this huge spending spree. And really what happened during that time when those checks went out is companies just kept upping their prices. And then the really bad thing, what happened is when people spent all the money, the companies went, well, people are used to spending this much. So they didn't bring the cost back down, because psychologically now you're like accustomed to spending that much for those items. And so just doing that again does not solve your problem. you have to also increase production if you're going to put more money in out into the supply
Circulation.
circulation. That's the word I was looking for. And so this idea of just giving people money just to give people money, well, that's really bad. Especially when I think they tried to push it for a while there just to give elderly people more money, and it was like, well, they don't produce anything. So it's like
I think.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say there's also I mean, again, I 100% agree with everything Taylor's saying, but I will say there's something a little bit insulting about it in this, right? I mean, going back to my ridiculous over the top example of $1 per gallon for climate change, right? So you put that in place for 6 months. Everybody's starting to really hurt at the pump, or else people start to carpool again or whatever. And then Trump comes out and goes, you know what we're going to do? We're going to send you stimulus checks to help you with the price of gas. Well, you're the reason the price of gas is up in the first place, jerk. So I don't like them taking money from us in tariffs and then sending money back selectively to subgroups with tariffs. Just don't have them, or have them at a lower level, whatever. Right?
Well, I mean, there is an argument that we do need to force manufacturing, if possible, back into the United States where we can. I don't like the idea of this as blanketly tariffing everything that's out there. It should have been selectively like, okay, what industries would Americans really reasonably do? They're not going to make shoes and clothes at the cost, even if you put 200% tariffs on those items. I mean, it's just going to cost too much money. And we have slave children to do that in other nations. All right. We don't need to do that.
We pay people $2 a day per shift. Gosh darn it.
Exactly. And so, but the reality of the situation that we're all facing is, if this does go through, where really are we seeing the biggest trouble? Like the biggest trouble actually started coming, because I think at the very beginning, they didn't have any cap on anything. And so if you were like an online, some small business that, sold clothes, you were getting these huge tariff hits, and it basically was destroying these businesses of these small business owners. Whereas larger companies were able to figure out ways like, oh, we're going to ship it through, through this
another country that has a lower tariff. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah.
And so
there's things that are going to catch that.
Yeah, they eventually got it. I think they made a de minimis, like $800 if you're only doing, you don't have to pay the tariffs on small amounts of product, but to kind of solve that. But the problem is like, this is the worst issue for Americans right now is inflation. And while, at least Trump's trying to do something, and he's trying to figure out a way to solve a problem. We might just be in the reality of the situation is like, there is no solution to these problems. Your best solution to the problem is innovation. And really what America needs to ramp up on is robotics. I mean, China's already pumping out robots.
Yeah.
You can go online and buy a humanoid robot from China.
Let's answer this question, because this is something that was a huge narrative during the election. Was, supposedly Trump was going to drill baby drill and produce more oil and gas, U.S. Oil, gas, stuff like that, and it was going to make the price of gas go down. So
the price of gas is way down right now. What is it at right now?
I think overall it is, but states like, Washington, Oregon, California, mostly liberal states, they've been jacking up the taxes. And so basically it's gotten more expensive in, a lot of the liberal states, because I think they're trying to, me personally, I think they're trying to, make people feel pain so that, they attributed it to, Trump.
So
but you're right. In a lot of states.
So I drive a Tesla. I don't know what the price of gas, what is it right now?
It's about $3.15 nationwide.
$3.15. So, I mean,
for regular unleaded.
But so Jeff, do you understand? I don't understand the relation between the cost of barrel per barrel and gas costs, because it seems to me that what are we at, like $60 a barrel or something like that? It's relatively low. but it seems like gas prices are still high. So it must be the production of it. That's where all the costs are coming in.
Right.
Well, I know in a lot of states, like I said, it's the state tax, at the pump that they're jacking it up. I know the state of Washington just passed a bunch of new tax laws on businesses. They jacked up taxes on businesses, on gas at the pump. I mean, it's above $5 in some places, above $5 a gallon. Victor was saying in California, it's they're paying $5 or more per gallon.
Yeah, I
So
mean,
it depends on where you're at, but Nation, I'm actually looking at here. I can share my screen and show this to you. Just one second.
right now
Share.
the cost per barrel is less than it was in 2018.
Can
So
you see that?
Yes.
All right, this one right here on the right is the average breakdown, and you're absolutely right. California's got much higher taxes, right? But
Yeah.
you can see that where the costs coming in, it's primarily. I mean, the number one thing is the price of oil, and everything else is just sort of the difference, right? The
I
difference.
mean, refining costs have gone up a little bit. The distribution costs have gone down, and taxes overall, it's not. It's overall has gone down, but so it's not really a tax hike that's really causing it. It's just,
I mean, if you look at this. You see this right here? I mean, this is oil since 2014, right? So it's kind of gone down to here. Like it's not. I mean, we first hit $3 gallon during Obama's second term. So we actually haven't had much. I mean, relatively speaking, we should all be pretty happy with the price of gas. Now again, I'm not Victor over here in the comments is talking about $5 a gallon in California, and that sucks. But in general, compared to, I mean, if you compared what it cost, let's say in California 20 years ago to fill up, or 15 years ago, it is not nearly as problematic as what it costs to buy, filet mignon or ground beef or milk,
or buy a car,
or
Oh, there was a guy that did a post, and I'm wanting to say it was he had a receipt, and he went and bought the same exact things that he bought just a couple years ago, and it was like 4 times the amount. Like the first receipt was like 100 and something bucks, and the second one was like 400 and something.
Yeah.
So
it's way the cost of the most important things to us have gone way up, which is food and your
shelter, shelter, all of that.
Transportation.
If you try to buy a house, then the interest rates are up. Rent is through the roof. Gas through the roof. Buying a car through the roof. Groceries through the roof.
And the problem is like people don't understand. Like people aren't out there spending like crazy right now, and the prices aren't coming down. So that's not a good sign overall in the market, because the idea was we're going to get really tight with things and we're going to force prices to come down, but they're not. And so there's some arguments that the reason why that is there in reality, while you go to the store and it appears there's a lot of competition, all those brands are really owned by the same companies. And so they just keep their prices the same across the board. And so you have that issue that we're facing right now, where corporations are dominating the market and there really isn't competition that's happening to drive down costs. And so the other issue, of course, that you have is, lowering the interest rate to as low what we did back during COVID has really caused a problem in the housing market, in the sense that now the housing market's pretty much completely broken. People won't.
Oh yeah. Well, Victor just said. I mean, he makes 6 digits and still can't afford to buy a house.
Yeah.
I mean, that's insane.
And Stan just asked, do we blame Powell or the president? All right, so this is something that I think is really frustrating to me, and it's all Stan's fault. No, we blame Stan.
Damn you, Stan.
No, so the way the Federal Reserve works, and this is relatively complicated, and I certainly don't understand all the mechanics either by any means, but the Federal Reserve, the rate they control is the overnight lending rate. It's the discount window rate. It's the rate that banks can go and get money from the Fed for one day, basically, to make up their deposits and keep things flowing smoothly, right? Generally speaking, in normal economic times, the lower that rate is, the lower that in turn banks will make their products from a lending perspective. It also means banks pay less interest from a savings perspective, right? So if you guys remember, in 2021, you could get a 2.75% mortgage, but you also could get a 5-year CD at like 1.8, right? Or 1.5. Mm-hmm. So there is a price to be paid there, depending upon what your goals are. Are you borrowing money or are you trying to save money, right? But it generally propagates through the system. It doesn't have to, though. All they really control is what are banks paying for money right now, like today.
Oh, we
perfect place to freeze.
Well, let's do this. Let's talk about the. Let's move on to the stock market.
Jeff,
I know we're
Jeff,
on. I know we're on short. On a short fuse because you have a call at 1.
That was weird.
So we only have 30 minutes left. But let's talk about the stock market performance.
Jeff, you froze right between your discussion right there, and we missed out.
Sorry, don't worry about it.
At a perfect time. So let's move on to the stock market because I mean we're talking about some of the cons or the negative things that we're seeing, but some people might come back with the stock market performance. The S&P 500 has risen 6% since Trump's second term started, nearing all-time highs, driven by tax cut optimism and strong corporate earnings. However, 20% drop in April 2025 following tariff announcements highlights volatility, with investors adjusting to an unpredictable trade environment. So, obviously, Jeff, you have your finger on the pulse of the markets, and I know, Taylor, you invest, but, how do you feel about, kind of what this administration has done for traditional markets and potentially, crypto markets?
Well, first off, let's qualify something. The president and Powell have very, very little effect on the market overall. Okay. At the end of the day, what really affects the market is, it's so large and so complicated that even our best computers cannot determine where things are going. There's literally no one out there that knows what's going to happen tomorrow.
Quantum computing.
Yeah. You can take quantum computers and the best mathematics, and you can't, because it's so large. You got to think it's everything across so many different industries.
And everything's always moving.
Yeah, personal feelings of people, how they perceive things. Like there's so many different variables that go into it that there's no way to really know, what's going on. So when we blame the president when things go down, it's ridiculous. It's because it's just we as human beings are programmed to. They have a term for it that we want someone to crucify. Someone has to pay for the sins when things go wrong. So there's some boogeyman out there that you want to point at and say it's this person that's causing the problem. But the reality is it's so many things that are going on at any given time. So right now, really what you have to learn to do if you're going to invest is nobody knows what's going to happen. We have ways to kind of anticipate where things are moving because you got to think of the market as kind of like there's energy. What general trend is happening? And the trend right now is everything is bullish. Okay. Well, not everything. I should put out there. Let me go through some things that are bullish trend right now that you can look at investing. But those things can change in a few days. For example, Bitcoin has been bullish trend up until this week. Right now, it's flirting with going bearish. but people don't know if it's kind of flipped that way because there's been a bunch of large. I think we were talking about it before we got on, which it looks like someone intentionally tried to.
Oh yeah. Last Sunday, somebody on which I the only reason I could see somebody doing it, and I'll summarize it, kind of what you were talking about. But they sold 24,000 on a Sunday, so low volume in the markets. They sold 24,000 Bitcoin, which dumped the markets. But they immediately took that liquidity and invested into ETH. So me and Taylor were talking about it, and I personally think what they were doing is two things. They were taking profits on Bitcoin and anticipating an ETH pump. So they were wanting to make profits there. And they did it on a Sunday on the open market to dump the prices. And they probably, what Taylor was thinking is they shorted the market. So basically they made money twice off of this sale, and, potentially if, obviously if ETH pumps. But anyway.
So here are some things that are bullish trend right now. China is actually bullish trend right now. It's doing very well. Gold, silver is our bullish trend right now. Gold not as much as silver. Silver still doing really well. And then the Russell 2000 is doing really well right now, and it's projected.
What's the Russell 2000?
Jeff, give us what is on the.
It's the small cap index. It's smaller companies relative.
Okay.
It's still big. It's still public companies that have that have shares, but it's your small cap, mid cap companies.
And right now, one of the strongest things that's signaling is Ethereum. Even though Bitcoin has been pulling back, Ethereum is making higher highs and lower lows, which generally tends to mean, and it's almost at its all-time high, which usually tends to mean it's going to have a breakout, within the next month or so.
I'll actually keep talking. I'll bring up the Bitcoin dominance and all that stuff.
And so while the big thing with ETH right now is you have two things happening. One, you have where retail investors look at that Bitcoin dominance like that's actually going to tell them the future. But the bigger thing is in Ethereum is that institutions are now investing. When it's on a bullish trend and you have institutions getting in at a very high rate right now. And so that's going to be a really big driving factor for Ethereum. So if you're looking to invest in crypto, ETH is probably a good pick right now, especially if someone's selling 24,000 Bitcoin to buy Ethereum. It's, usually a good sign, but
insider info.
But they usually people that have that type of money know certain things that the rest of us don't. But that's going to be Google among the mega caps that are out there is the strongest signal among the what do they call them, the Elite Seven or something like that.
The Magnificent Seven.
Nvidia is struggling. It's starting to pull back, but that's generally right now. If you're sitting on the side going, the market is overvalued. Well, the market's going to go until there's some type of correction event or something happens. And so,
so this is the one that I've been watching. This is the Bitcoin, relative to ETH chart.
Yep.
So, basically this is, kind of, the price of each. So, relative to each other. So right now, you can see that, like Taylor was saying, is, ETH has been, recently gaining on Bitcoin as far as dominance. And so historically, the way the cycle goes is Bitcoin pumps, then people take profits in that, they roll it into ETH. ETH pumps, people take profits from that, they roll it into high cap, blue chips like Solana and XRP and things like that. And then of course, then you get the full blown alt season where basically everything pumps and everybody, well, not everybody, but the smart people take profits. The people that don't take profits and think it's going to go up forever end up being exit liquidity for those that are smart enough to take profits. We go into a bear market and rinse and repeat. So that's kind of where we're at now. is people hoping that ETH is going to pump. It already has. It has kind of tickled at the all-time high, but most people are saying an 8,000 ETH is probably in the cards. Some people have even said 10, 12, but yeah, I mean, it's just we're just kind of in a holding pattern right now, but a lot has changed, in the markets since last bull cycle with regulation and institutional money. And that kind of plays into what Taylor was talking about before with, the different variables
Yeah,
that,
you
oh, what's
can't.
that?
Yeah, that's the hard part. It's too complicated to just boil down to. Like historically, yes, those concepts that if it reaches about this level, it's switching from Bitcoin to Ethereum. That works until it doesn't in this market, and we're in a very different market than when we were back then. And meaning institutions are now involved, and they don't do things that retail investors do, like trying to time the
Yeah, they're not
market.
emotional. Yeah, well, they're not emotional. Freaking retail. I mean, things start to dump and everybody panics and sells and exacerbates the issue. And when
What
everything's pumping, everybody FOMOs in and pumps the markets in retail.
what
Institutional money, they don't do that.
what is Stan? Stan. Can you clarify what do you impact on what?
So he says,
What's the word?
which has more of an impact on Ethereum, treasuries or Ethereum like ETF?
ETFs.
Uh,
So I don't know the answer to that question. That's a great question. Uh,
well, I won't go on the long-winded thing I was gonna say, but just my point is, people really need to remember and not take too much confidence, whether it's Powell, Trump, or anybody really. But we we are always operating from a market's perspective in the regime that people perceive to be true. So, for example, right now there's so much public pressure, led by the president, all the way down to the average person, especially if you want to buy or sell a house, for the Fed to lower rates, with this feeling that lowering rates will make mortgages less expensive, that'll unlock the housing market, yada yada. Right? Let's just say that's true. I understand people's frustrations. However, the Fed cut rates in December and mortgage rates went up, not down. Because it's not just Fed rates that matter. It's also the marketplace for treasuries, which is the primary funding of all mortgages, is banks go and buy treasuries with their money that then turn around and lend it out. Mm-hmm. And the marginal buyer of treasuries is the other countries in the world. So we have this Trump effect where maybe pisses somebody off. They don't want to do it, right? Maybe they're doing less business with us because of tariffs, so they have less dollars that they can reinvest. And because if you get dollars as a foreign country, you can only do two things with them: buy treasuries or buy oil, both of which benefit us usually, right? So there's a lot of other things that come into play. And my fear is Trump succeeds in pressuring the Fed to lower rates. Rates get lowered a couple of times, and the bond market at the higher level, the 10-year, 30-year, doesn't agree. Because if it doesn't agree, then we have to go, oh crap, that magic pill we had, that magic lever called the Fed put, where we just lower rates to make things go up, is broken. And if that's broken, then we're in a whole different world. So to Taylor's point, it works till it doesn't. And one of the things that I think is frustrating, and again, I don't know if Trump does this because he's talking to the average consumer and he figures out they're not going to really understand it otherwise, or if he doesn't understand, but he says, we're America. We should have the lowest rates in the world. Well, I get it, right? We're the biggest. We got the biggest military. We got the biggest economy. I understand his concept. But if we had the lowest rates in the world, since everybody hedges and buys with us, right? They invest through us. If we went down to 0.5%, as far as rates are concerned, we would see the market would skyrocket, which sounds good, and housing would skyrocket, which is really bad.
Yeah.
Because if housing gets more and more expensive, it prices more and more people out of the housing market, which makes household formation harder, which makes marriage harder, which makes having a kid harder, which eventually kicks us all in the nuts collectively, right? So it's not just about making things go up, but I do think that Trump, as a business person, he looks at dollars. So if somebody told him, hey, you can do these things and the stock market will be double when you end your term, and housing will have gone up 30 more percent and all this other stuff, I think he would look at that as an unqualified good and not look at the knock-on effects of how much more expensive did that make life for the
Well,
average American.
I honestly think that that's what our government as a whole has done for decades is, each administration does whatever makes their party or, their
Sure,
admin
that's not a
look.
Trump thing. That's a politician
No,
thing.
no. And I'm just, kind of painting the full picture. And it's led us to this mess that we're in where we have, 36, $37 trillion in debt. And then, I won't get into the unfunded liabilities and what that means. The cost of living has gone up. People have slowed, and some people, haven't had kids, because of the cost. And
Michael,
that is,
just because you have a small wiener doesn't mean you have to blame it on cost.
hey, you know what? If it's small, it still does the job. It still does the job. So,
Just gotta get something in. All right.
yeah, you gotta get a dig. Gotta get a dig. Yeah, even a shallow hole, can make it. So that's so basically, I mean, with less population, I mean, that's the issue China is having right now. Is for a long time they had a cap on the amount of children that people could have, and now they're hurting because if you don't have the population, if your population isn't growing, it negatively affects your economy. And you guys can probably speak more intelligently on that.
No,
Oh no, 100%. And it's especially when you have an economy that's based on a growing population, like Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid. That's all based on a growing population paying taxes in. So the scariest thing, and I'm going to try to find this. The scariest thing.
Jeff, I know you want to find that, but I have a 1:00 appointment, and I need you to tell everybody when you almost got killed by a police officer.
All right, go ahead. Go.
I will tell this as I look for the thing. So
tell the story. I got to get off. Oh, wait. No, we can't show that. Jeff will get in trouble.
Yeah, I'll get in trouble. Can't show that. But, that was not me. That was just AI. It was just AI.
No, you can say that's your body.
Yeah, I would love to say that was my body, but that is not my body. So when I was first learning to drive, right? I mean, I'm like 16 and a half. I had a job as security for the Woodlands Pavilion down outside of Houston, which just meant I did parking. Like I just walked around. I had, the vest, the little thing. Me and some buddies, we would just direct cars in, and they would have a cop like per lot that would just sit there. They pay him $30 an hour to read and drink coffee and just be a present.
Yeah. So
anyway, it comes time during the shift. I'll never forget, it was a Leonard Skinner concert, right? So it's kind of cool. You could kind of hear them through the trees out in the parking lot from the different, And so I go to get my dinner. I went down the road. This is like July, okay? So it's light out. It's like 8:00 at night, but it's still light out. I go to Blimpie's. You guys remember Blimpie's, the Subway shop?
Oh yeah.
Go to Blimpie's, got a big ass Italian sub. Right next door to Blimpie's was Shipley's Donuts. And I was like, you know what? I'll get a dozen donuts or so for me and my buddies. But really, it was just so I could justify getting donuts. So I go in, get some donuts. Actually, I think I got 2 dozen donuts.
One dozen for you, one for your buddies.
One for me, one for them. Right? So this is very much in my Master of Puppet Metallica era. Okay. So I'm in my car. I've got it cranked up to 10. I'm like, right? I'm doing all that stuff. I know my stupid camera's not working again.
Well, you got to be in the frame, Jeff. You're like,
so my point is, I'm driving, and I look up. Well, first of all, I'm going back to work, so I'm going the speed limit. Okay. Secondly, I look up in my rearview mirror, and I see lights, and so my heart. oh my God, I'm going to get a ticket, right? Like, there's a cop. But I don't hear anything. So I roll the window down. Don't hear anything. I should probably mention it's Houston. It's humid as hell. So let me see if I can fix this real quick. So it's super freaking humid. And because of that, that didn't work. Because of that, I couldn't see through the window. It was all blurry. It was all like just like shower moist, whatever. So I'm like, oh, I don't hear any sirens. It's not a police officer. So I just keep going. Then I happen to look up, and the guy's like really close to me. And I'm like, what the hell? So I get into left lane because I'm in the right lane. That's not what you're supposed to do. But I get in the left lane. Like, he's not getting past me, man. He's not pulling me over. Get the hell past me. Then I look up. He's still behind me. Still can't see, by the way. Just muted red, blue lights. And I'm like, man, what the hell? So I get back in the right lane. He gets in the right lane. At this point, for some reason, I think it's one of the guys that does the tow trucks. Because the Cynthia Woods Mitchell Pavilion has parking for like 3,000 cars, and they sell tickets for about 3,500 people. So a couple hundred cars get towed every time, right? I'm like, and we work with them. We point them out, like whatever. I'm like, oh, he's fucking with me. I'm going to show him. I go right up to a yellow light. I stop, and right as it turns red, I gun it. And I go straight through the light, and I leave him with the guns. I'm like, all of a sudden, this guy comes roaring back. And I'm like, what? Now I'm getting a little freaked out. Like, what the hell? Right? So I lean out the window after running through a red light from a dead stop. And of course, it's a police officer. And I'm just like, oh. Because I thought, like a dumbass, that if you were getting pulled over, they turned their sirens on. So because I didn't hear anything, I thought they're just trying, I thought it was, that's why I thought it might have been a tow truck or something else. Anyway, so I pull over, and I don't know where people live on this. So let's just say that I pull over at the single biggest intersection that you can possibly be pulled over at. It's 4 lanes each way, divided highway. So 8, right?
Jeff, can you move over just a little bit so you're not blurry anymore?
It's not gonna. It's the camera. It's just.
Well, if you get in the middle, it usually fixes itself.
I'm trying here.
Just finish the story.
Yeah, there you are.
Better, kinda.
Okay, whatever.
Stupid camera. I get a new camera. So I pull over. I immediately lean out the window. I'm like, sir, I thought. He goes, get your hands on the wheel. I'm like, right? This guy comes up. I should mention I'm wearing my uniform. My uniform is a hot pink polo, like flamingo pink. Okay. So that comes into play in a second. So he comes up, license. I'm like, sir, shut up until I talk to you. I'm like, okay. Right. So he asks like stuff. And he looks at it. He leaves. He goes back. He does his shit in the car. Comes back up. It's like 15 minutes. Actually, then he gets me out of the car. And he's like, he gives me a sobriety test. Right. There's cars going by. It's now dark. Everybody's got their lights on. It's all shining at me. I'm doing all this shit. Right. I'm like, he puts me in the back of the car, staring at his car. Then I notice his partner is by the front right hub with his gun drawn, pointed down, but drawn. And I'm like, oh my God, what have I done, right? He finally comes back and he's like, all right, son, I don't think you're high. So would you mind telling me what the boop, boop, boop you were doing? And I'm like, well, sir, the thing is, it was really hard to see you because my window was all fogged up and I pivot. And of course, the window is clear as day because it's been 15 minutes of me parked with the window down. And I wasn't running the air that was, hitting the hot and causing the condensation. So he's like, uh-huh. Then he's like, so, have you had anything to drink tonight? I'm like, no, sir. All I've had is a donut. He's like, are you fucking with me right now? And I'm like, would you like one? And he's like, I mean, he got so red. He thought, and I'm like, sure, no, just look at the front seat. Just look at the front seat. He like leaves and looks in the front seat, and he sees the donuts, and he's like, so you've had a donut, and that's it. This is just how God made you. Yes, sir. And he goes,
This
and
is
you ran
how
away
God
from me
made you.
because why? And I'm like, I didn't know. I thought you were a buddy of mine. Messing. I mean, it just gets worse and worse and worse, right? Finally, he follows me back to work, talks to one of the cops there. I somehow get off, right? He doesn't take me to jail or right, but he does ask me. I remember the last thing he told me right before he told me to get in the car and he was going to follow me. He's like, and when you come to a red light, you're going to stop. So, okay, I know what that is.
That's what you looked like when the cop was shining the light in your eyes.
So he looked at me and goes, do you even know where I pulled you over? And I'm like, no, sir. He goes, because you didn't have your lights on. And I'm like, oh. And I like reach up and I turn my lights on. Yeah, dude, it was so bad. So yes, my first time ever being pulled over by a cop, I offered him a donut. After going from the right lane to the left lane to the right lane to the median, take off from the median when he stopped behind me, stop at a yellow light, wait for it to turn red, go through the red light, then get pulled over, and I still didn't get a ticket.
Yeah. Nice. I got to jump, guys.
All
One of the
right.
best stories of all time.
Yeah. All right. Well, I appreciate it. I think we hit most of the points that I was wanting to talk about. But yeah, as always, I appreciate you, Jeff, for making the time to do this Thursday show. But we'll talk to you.
We'll do it next time. My pros and cons. But somebody said in the I think it was, I don't know who it was, but somebody said in the comments about maybe Trump's unorthodox administration. And I was going to say, I think that's his biggest pro and his biggest con. And it just depends on the situation, right? I think he gives us unpredictability with the rest of the world. In a lot of ways, that's not good. In a lot of ways, it's great because we're finally getting some traction in places we haven't gotten traction before. So if nothing else, the next 3.5 years is going to be one hell of an adventure.
Yeah. And, me personally, I don't think, I still think that we haven't seen, at least the crypto, alt season pump yet. I think it's going to definitely play out a little bit different, but I still see upside left. So I'm not changing my thesis. I'm not changing anything. If anything, I am, de-risking, my liquidity from the dollar. It's, I'm earning with my liquidity instead of having it sit in a bank account. So either way, yeah. Either way, I think that those of us that are in crypto and those of us that are investing and paying attention are making the right moves. So, again, appreciate you, Jeff. Take care.
See you, bud.
We'll talk to you soon. Hey, bye.